Good afternoon. Hello and welcome to our 1997 April version of the Alumni Spotlight Series. We are celebrating today the remarkable journeys of our alumni. And just as a reminder, this series is one of the many ways College Track Alumni Program facilitates opportunities for intergenerational connections and legacy building. So I'm so excited to introduce to you College Track New Orleans College Scholar Dominique Tolliver, and College Track New Orleans alumna Gabrielle Gabby Tolliver. This is the conversation among sisters. I'm excited to hear and listen and learn all the things about our college scholar and our college track alumna. So sit back and enjoy the conversation between sisters.
Thank you so much. My name is Dominique. I am a College Track Scholar from College Track New Orleans. I will be graduating Loyola University in May of 2024. And I'm also a journalist. And I'd like to introduce my sister, Gabrielle. Can you talk a little bit about what you do?
Yes, so my name is Gabrielle Tolliver. I'm a College Track alum of the class of 2016. I graduated from Xavier University of Louisiana in my living room during quarantine of 2020. And I'm an artist and an art administrator working with various art organizations in New Orleans.
Yeah, and Gabby, you have kind of now taken on a more management role in the art world, but you are an artist yourself. So let's go from the beginning. What kind of sparked your interest in art, and how has the creativity of growing up in New Orleans shaped your work?
Well, starting off, it was definitely in a different medium. I started as a dancer. I was doing a lot of ballet, tap, jazz, modern, and I danced for 11 years. And then um, entering into college, I was kind of confused as to where I wanted to go in life and what a career path should look like. And I met a mentor named Ron Bechet, who was a painting instructor at Xavier. And that kind of brought me in. I've always had art classes in school, but I definitely wanted his mentorship. And so that's what kind of threw me into the art world and all of the opportunities that came after.
Yeah, for sure. And in that, you're learning a lot and you're being educated through the arts. And, education is the heart of college track. And many students of color can sometimes feel that pressure to major in those traditionally high paying fields going into college, either to give back to their families for supporting their education, or they just want to choose a major that feels maybe financially secure to them. And as a HBCU grad, did you also feel that pressure? Why did you decide to follow your talent and your gift and major in art?
So initially going into school, I was 17 and I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I picked that traditional field of, well, let's make money. Going to Xavier, they have a really big medical program of all spheres. And I knew that I was really interested in the skin and in makeup. At the time, there wasn't a lot of diverse foundation lines out there. And then we started to see that shift in 2016. So about the same time I entered college. And I hated it. I took a full semester of that program, and chemistry was the first science class. And it was just, I wasn't gelling with it. I was studying really, really hard and putting in a lot of time and effort. And it just wasn't clicking with what felt aligned and right for me. And so moving into that painting class and starting to see how art can be used to shape community and art can be used as a healing modality. That was something that I needed in my personal life. And also I saw it shaping the culture of the city around me. So I wanted to partake in that.
Yeah, for sure. And you've kind of gotten active in that role of healing the community through art. While you're an artist and you do share your work, you're also powerful in that administrative side. You've managed structural and mural projects across the city, and not only just to beautify our neighborhoods, but to also raise, the social consciousness around movements and historical figures. What has been your process to transition more into art management, and how have you maybe struggled or benefited from being an artist yourself in art management?
So it started after graduating school in 2020. A lot of people were losing their jobs. And I knew that I had a talent that I wanted to pursue in some capacity. I wasn't sure what that looked like. But I knew I had to get that structurally set up. And through kind of trial and error and throwing noodles at the wall and seeing what sticks for myself, I've been able to help guide a lot of the artists that I've worked with, not only in my full-time role, but artists that I've met along the way. And that kind of trial by fire has really taught me how to do those things. I wasn't really particularly learning these types of skills in school because I wasn't going for administration, but you really learn by doing, and that's what I've been learning for the past 3 years.
And you touched on a little bit the arts community and the strong community that you've built in New Orleans. What do you think that community can give to other artists across the country, as well as those who are not artists? What do you think art brings to our society and how it benefits?
Um, ooh, Definitely a lot of beauty, and I think that's the most standard that everybody can get on the same page with.
Hmm.
Beautifying our spaces is very important, especially in New Orleans. It is a very colorful and vivacious city. And after Katrina, we kind of have just seen, we've been able to take more initiative in what that looks like.
Hmm.
And learning from places elsewhere and how they've been able to unify their community through these public art projects leads really well with what I was personally doing within my own work and also what I've been doing professionally. So just using art as something that you don't have to be good at, you don't have to have all of these years of experience, but it's something that you can just take to relax and to get to know your neighbor and
Hmm.
to see what feels good for you and just to play. I think that's something that our society needs a lot more of, and that's something that art provides, and it's something that the work that I've been doing has shown to me in a higher light.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually want to touch on your personal work a little bit. You do a lot more abstract art, but you also do some contemporary art. Can you just explain how you've brought in that play into your art and kind of obviously sophisticated it throughout your work, but making sure that you're still having fun when you're creating?
Hmm. So I like to create in an intuitive process. I like to allow the materials to tell me what they want to do, and I respond to it. So I like to look at it as like a call and response, or a song and dance. That
Mm.
process is. In school, I was definitely more focused on the technicalities of like how do we get the anatomy to look right. Um, and in 2020, when things started to shake up, and it was kind of like, okay, well, we have cameras, we can easily document these things. Um, we have all these ways of sharing what's actually happening. How do we express how we're feeling? And so I've been able to work with watercolor primarily, and just be fluid and allow the product to show me what it wants to do and to play with the idea of what is chance and how does that show up in our work and spontaneity. How do we pivot with that and make that something that we can hold more of an authority over, other than feeling, kind of at a loss for control? And I just feel like that's a direct reflection of where we are as a society.
And it also really resonates with alumni and post grad, right? Because you get out of college and you're kind of in the world like, whew, okay, let's just go with the flow and see how we can kind of figure it out. And so it's really great that you've been able to kind of harness that unknowing energy into your work and also make it connect to the environment around you because New Orleans is surrounded by water, right? I know
Mhm.
you've done a couple shows actually about how we are related to the earth and how your art relates to the earth. And so, can you explain a little bit about your art and the connection with your environment in Louisiana, as well as the water in the spaces around you?
Yeah. So at the time of Hurricane Katrina, and I hate this being a center point, but it's
Mhm.
definitely something that was pivotal in my timeline. I was 7 years old, and I got to see the city shift and shape itself in a brand new way that didn't necessarily look at all the people that were originally there and taking that into consideration in terms of like which different areas were affected most by this and who are the people who live there and how does water, which is we're 70% water, we're surrounded by water, we have to intake water all the time. How is something that is so present in our daily life, how can that be used as a medium to share experiences or feelings that I'm personally having and others that I'm talking to are having with the things that are going on? So our environment is definitely a direct reflection of what I'm made up of, quite literally water, and trying to reclaim that tool
Yep.
to use it in a creative way to speak to some issues that we might be having as a society.
Yeah, and I want to circle back to your work in management. So you mentioned that you work with other artists as well as students from across the city.
Mhm.
How do you show up from as a leader in these spaces, and how do you inspire, especially the students that you work with, as they are developing their own identity as artists?
I want to start with how I show up with the students. I've been really reflecting recently on my separation from the students. I'm only 10 years older than them. Um, I was just a student in their position. And so seeing the resources or lack thereof that they have is something that I personally am very passionate about bridging that gap with.
Mhm.
So the work that I've been doing with them is to show them that art is fun. We can take away the limitations of what that should look like, how creativity should be shared, how that should be valued. I've just been being really transparent with them and showing them, hey, I'm like you're the big sister. Like I was just in your position. I understand and see your frustrations, your passion, the work that you want to see done in your community, and I'm just on the ground with them doing that same work. And I think with my professional peers, I'm able to portray that through the passion that I have for protecting and working with these students.
Mhm. Mhm. Totally. And while you're in that management role, you're a Black woman, right? And so art is traditionally a very white male dominated space.
Mhm.
How is your identity maybe conflicted with your roles as a manager, a leader, and a role model to your students? And how have you, I guess, resisted or worked against these roadblocks to end up successful?
Well, I think the resistance is me doing the work, period,
Mhm.
especially within the abstract field that is a white male dominated space. And oftentimes you do not see people who look like me in those realms. So just being able to present that work as myself in general is an act of resistance. And then showing my students that, like, hey, this is not a field that a lot of people that look like us are in. This is not a field that not a lot of people in our community are even privy to.
Mhm.
And we have the power and the ability to step into those spaces. So I just tried to show them how to be unapologetically themselves and
Mhm.
how to express themselves visually through their art in a way that is not only like cathartic for them, but is also sharing a message that they feel is really important to the communities around them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's also something that can translate to other alumni and post grads who are trying to find their place in the workplace and want to be themselves, but also want to make sure that, they're respecting their workplace and they're in a way conforming to what they need to do to be able to, exist in that space. And so, would you give any advice? What's last question? What's one piece of advice you'd give other alumni and new graduates as they either enter the art field or they enter their own workforce?
I would definitely say lean into your passions. And I know there's a big conversation that's happening now about not monetizing your passion
Mhm.
because we want to keep some things to ourselves, right? But in order to continue to get up every day and be diligent about the work that you're doing, I feel like there has to be passion there. And
Yep.
so finding a way to bridge that passion with a traditional job or something that's able to help provide that stability that a lot of people, are really concerned about, and rightfully so. But then find what's pulling at your heart. Find that thing that's going to make sure you show up as 100% of yourself in that work every day, and whether that be the medium you go through, the communities that you're working with, or so
Mhm.
be it. Just finding something that connects personally, that is really being driven from the heart and moving in that nature.
Yeah, and you've definitely been able to merge that more traditional route with your passion. So I really just congratulate you on that. And it's been amazing getting to see you kind of, I guess, find your way as your sister.
Thank
And really find what works for you, but also works for, life.
you.
We're going to take some questions. Kavana said, when you were preparing for college, what were a few things you considered about the best fit for you?
Honestly, in full transparency, I looked financially, who could help support the aftermath of me leaving school, because having a lot of college debt I saw was definitely impacting some peers that were older than me. And I didn't want that challenge moving into life, so that was definitely a driving factor. But also being in a community of people who looked like me. So an HBCU was definitely at the top of my list. And also, I wasn't really ready to leave home. So luckily, New Orleans has a lot of colleges that are in the city and or nearby. Um, so I kind of chose based off of those things.
I would also say the same for me as well, considering that we are from the same family. I guess we have the same sort of beliefs in that um, it is really hard to start your adult life in debt. And so trying to get a good head start, if possible, was very important to both of us. So even though I don't currently go to an HBCU, I still found my niche of the merge of the traditional education and also what I liked. Loyola has one of the best journalism programs in the state. So I was like, if I'm going to go anywhere close to home, I'm definitely going to go somewhere where I can be with the best. So yeah, that was very important to both of us. Alita says, what's next for you in the art industry, Gabby?
I'm working very diligently with a lot of community organizers in the city to figure out how to bridge gaps, because a lot of people in New Orleans are working in silos, and the more I'm talking to people outside of the city, they're pretty much working through the same. So I want to figure out how to build a bridge to allow all of these programs to work together, and then for funding purposes work together to get a bigger pot of money to really help the communities that they're working with.
Yeah, for sure. I think that'll definitely as well help raise people's just awareness of art and the impact that art can have. The more we see it, the more we put it in every aspect of life intentionally, definitely
Mhm.
we will get more funding or more backing for the important work that you all do. Do we have any more questions? If so, throw them in the chat.
I believe that may have been the last question. Um, but kudos to both of you all. I always appreciate transparent conversations and just real conversations that kind of happen organically. And you all gave us that opportunity to get a little bit more about your lives and the impact of being in your industries. And we can definitely tell, Dominique, that you are a journalist. That just naturally comes out in you. Um, and just Gabby, your love for the arts and how you want to use it and all the ways to kind of bring people together and get people to be aware of who they are is wonderful. So I really do appreciate both of you all. And just remind everyone that we're doing these series every month, typically every Thursday, Throwback Thursday, to give our alums an opportunity to kind of think back of when they were a college student, when they were a part of college track, and even their current journey. So there will be more information about our 1997 series for May. And just thank everyone for joining us today, and stay tuned for more information about spotlights in the next. And until the next time, stay connected.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.